Welcome to Talent Freaks with Andy Kuhn. I'm Andy, a filmmaker and photographer based in the Bay Area of California. This podcast delves into the journeys of creative individuals who inspire curiosity and impact through their work. In this episode, we're revisiting a special conversation from 2006 with Sarah Phelps, who I grew up in the Montclair school system with and went to high school and graduated in 1992. And this is the first episode that I ever recorded. So part of being early podcast adopter was technology, was about how do we record these? And the way I did it was I would use Skype to reach out to my podcast guests to record them. Now, Skype had a plugin or a third party that you can record a Skype conversation. And Skype also had the ability to make phone calls. So if the person I was reaching out to didn't have Skype that we could connect and get a clean feed, then I would just use Skype to call them. Sometimes I would reach their cell phone. Sometimes I'd reach a landline. So it varies. But the good thing about technology today is that we can clean up this audio, and it is amazing. So I use Adobe Podcast Enhancer. And for this one, I didn't, because you could hear Sarah very cleanly, and it just works. At the time, Sarah was a producer and manager for the incredibly inventive and award-winning animator PES. At the time of this interview, PES's groundbreaking stop-motion films like Roof Sex and Game Over had already gained international acclaim, redefining the possibilities of animation with their clever use of everyday objects. Sarah shares her fascinating journey from her international studies in South America and Portugal to her transition into advertising and eventually teaming up with PES to bring his unique artistic visions to life. Before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe and rate Talent Freaks on your favorite podcast platform. It helps others discover these inspiring stories, and I'm incredibly grateful for it. Let's jump back to 2006 and let the younger version of myself introduce you to the first person I had a podcast with, and that was with Sarah Phelps. Sarah Phelps is a former classmate of mine at Montclair High School in New Jersey, and she is now producer and manager of PES. All right, if you never heard of PES or who he is, go to the site. It's www.eatpes.com. That's eatpes.com. There you're going to find short films, short films, commercials, making ofs, photos, downloads for PSP, contact information. I'm a big fan, so let's get into the interview. Thank you, Sarah Phelps, for taking my call today, and welcome to fcproducer.com. First, I'd like to talk about, you, where you, because you and I were both classmates at Montclair High.
That's right, and we don't have to give the year.
No, we don't. People could do their own research for that.
Mm-hmm.
And when I left, I came down to North Carolina, went to school there, but where did you take off and go to school, and where did you end up?
Oh, my gosh. I probably did what would be considered unexpected for the town that we grew up in. I ended up going to South America for 4 years.
Was this right after high school?
Yeah, this was right after high school. Actually, the expected part is that I had a field hockey scholarship to go to college. So I was at Rutgers, and then I took a leave of absence, and I had different grants to do research in different countries in South America. So first I was in Ecuador, then Chile, then Brazil. In between I was in Peru. And after that I was in Portugal doing some graduate work. But all of that research put together got me a degree from Rutgers, which, looking back, of course, if there's any college students listening, don't give up college. Stay as long as you can.
So you did all this outside of Rutgers, though.
Yeah, that's one of the great things about a state institution. They're not a business. Firstly, they're not there to take your money, so they're happy if they can get rid of some students for a few semesters.
No doubt.
So after that, I was in Portugal, and then I came to New York and started working. I did a little stint in advertising, which is where I met PES, and after that, I worked in real estate consulting for a couple different companies, and then I left and started working with PES full-time. So that's my brief trajectory.
Okay, I'm going to back up just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how did you, you said you went down to South America, and in high school, did you Already know Spanish and Portuguese?
No, nothing. I mean, I studied Spanish. I think we all took a language class, but I couldn't speak a word of it.
Oh.
Despite straight A's, I thought I was pretty bad. But actually in high school, I was gone for part of, what year was it, sophomore year? My father went to work in Japan, so we went there for part of the year. And it was a real eye-opener. We were in this tiny town up in the hills outside Hiroshima, and
Wow.
he had opened a university there with a Japanese billionaire that was going to draw students from all around Asia, and it was affiliated with the City University of New York. And it was incredible. It was such an eye-opener. And my parents used to joke that I got bit by the Chiota bug. That was the name of the town. And that was really what they called the international bug. So after that, I thought, wow, I have to do this again. And I thought it would be great to go somewhere where I could really learn Spanish.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then you came back, and how did you get started with that real estate consulting?
Oh, I mean, a total fluke, like anything, right?
Uh-huh.
After, let's see, I came back, worked in advertising with Latin America, which was kind of a natural fit. And then from that, I thought, I really need to be on the business side of things. And that was when the whole tech boom was happening.
Mm-hmm.
Internet 1.0, that's what we're calling it now. And so it was the first company was a real estate technology company, which was great. It was an incredible induction into the, high-level deal-making, and all of the clients that I worked with were these old-school New York commercial real estate owners.
Nice.
So that's where I cut my teeth. And then after that, I was at a consulting company.
And that's how you met Pez?
Yeah, I met Pez in the advertising world.
Explain that. How did you meet him?
Let's see. There are a couple versions of this story, but the truthful one, my version, is that, when you first start working in advertising, everybody is very, very poor. People joke that it's a great business if your parents support you. So the secretaries used to call me when there was food in the conference room. And one day they called and they said, there is a focus group on the 14th floor, free pizza. So I went up for the free pizza, and it turns out that Pez was filming the focus group.
He was the only one?
Filming it?
No. Oh, he was filming the focus
group.
He was
filming it, yeah.
Okay.
He was filming it, and I was eating the pizza and talking about the pizza and describing the pizza and stuff. And I must have been really useful to them because he remembered me a few months later when we bumped into each other in an elevator. And he told me later that he remembered that I love food and I love to laugh. And he had just shot his first film, which was about food. And it's actually on the website. It's the film called Bomber.
Bomber?
And he said, yeah, Bomber. He said, why don't you can come on up and see my film. So that was a number of years ago.
Now, how long did it take before you two started working together?
We started working together in 2001 with Roof Sex.
That is my favorite. I absolutely love that.
You love Roof Sex? That
yes.
makes me happy.
It is so good. When I saw that, I just smiled. And my brother blogged about it in May. I didn't realize he did that. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, Roof Sex is one of those things, a lot of animation people say, oh my God, how did you do that? How could you? And if you ever, for people who don't know about animation, it's an absolutely crazy thing to do to try and animate outdoors.
Yes.
Because you can't keep the light source consistent.
Mm-hmm.
And animation takes a really long time. That film took 20 shooting days over 3 months.
Wow.
So that was, we would probably never, ever, ever do that again.
Yeah.
But it's the kind of thing that we're happy to have done once.
But that doesn't mean you wouldn't do it under controlled,
Right, but then, of course, it wouldn't be Roof Sex. It was, we were out on the roof.
Basement sex.
In New York.
That was brilliant. And that's actually how I found you on the site. And I said produced by Sarah Phelps. And that was just so funny because I was like, that's Sarah Phelps.
I know. And there's a million Sarah Phelpses, too. It's a very common name.
That's awesome. And tell me about the awards that it won and the distinction that Roof Sex has actually gotten from the community, the filmmakers community.
Roof Sex. I mean, yeah, it went to most of the big film festivals, and now it seems like no big deal that it got awards because everyone loves it. But at the time, it was sort of revolutionary because it's only a minute long.
Mm-hmm.
And I think maybe some of the old guard felt like, a minute, that's not a film, but we always felt that it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It tells a complete story. It doesn't need to be any longer. It's exactly the length it should be. And it was probably the most rewarding moment we had. The first most rewarding moment was when it won the Best First Film Award at the Annecy Animation Festival in France, which, is one of the biggest animation festivals. We met a lot of amazing people there that year and in subsequent years. And the fact that they gave it such a nice award was pretty cool.
That going back, and plus you also had a conflict and a resolution too towards the end of the movie. So.
Right. Yeah, it's a complete movie.
And I can also say too, with my documentary, that it is so nice not to sit through an hour and a half of your film when you only have a minute.
Right.
And you don't feel those cringes and everything. Everyone just, you hear the laughter. Oh, that must have been just a complete joy for you guys.
That was fun. It was great to get it out there. There are two things that you just reminded me of. One of them is that when, young filmmakers are always asking for advice, and one of the things PES tells them in making a short film is that, be sure to make it short, because you go to these film festivals and so often the short films are just a little too long, and even a couple of minutes can really kill an idea.
Yeah.
The other thing is that when we first made Roof Sex, the internet was this is 2001, 2002 when we launched it, 2002 really, and you didn't have YouTube, you didn't have all of these sites, but the internet was big, so we had emailed it out to a couple of friends. And then a couple weeks later, we were in a bar and heard people talking about it. And, that's one of the beautiful things about the internet is it's the ultimate democratic theater. If something's terrible, it dies.
Yep.
But if people like it, it will live and live. I mean, just today, we heard from someone who we would have thought had seen the film, but he hadn't. And films can always find a new audience online. There's millions and millions of people.
Mm-hmm.
They can live for a long time.
And so tell me, how does does he go by PES all the time?
Yeah, PES, yep.
That's so easy.
Mm-hmm, it is, right? I don't have to remember too much.
So how did PES get started with stop motion animation?
Oh God. Well, Roof Sex was his first stop motion, and as best as I can recall, he just had this idea about the chairs, and he wanted to make this film, and there was really no other way to do it except by stop motion. He had made some live action films up until that point. And he just, I think like any artist, you just get obsessed by something and have to see it through to get rid of the obsession.
So after that, did it just take off, like all these ideas just open up and he just started flowing with them?
It's interesting. They did, but the real catalyst was, because if you look at the website and the work, Roof Sex is very different from the work that's followed.
Right.
Because that was big and outdoors and kind of very broad. And his new work, which I think just gets, the new piece is Game Over, is my absolute favorite so far. The piece he did before, Kaboom, was huge on the internet. And these all use small objects in a very different way.
Absolutely.
And he was really, after 2001, the advertising industry collapsed here in New York. A lot collapsed here in New York.
Yeah.
So we didn't have any jobs coming in, no money whatsoever. And PES basically dug into his pockets and thought, what can I make a film with? And he pulled out some peanuts and literally started playing around with peanuts on the kitchen table. And that kind of opened a whole separate chamber in his head when he was forced into a really tough position, which I think is also a very common thing for lots of artists.
Absolutely. And so I've noticed that he loves peanuts.
He does.
Was that part of the reason when he pulled out a peanut and he just started going with it, or is it like something else?
He is definitely, he could tell you better than I could, certainly. But the peanut is a fascinating object. He's truly fascinated by the peanut. It's, we have a bit in the making of Kaboom, which is on the website. To him, it's like a Christmas gift. It's got the wrapping, it's got the tissue paper, it's got the little gift inside. It also is structured just like an atomic bomb,
Right.
which is part of why he used it as an atomic bomb with the 2 chambers and the narrow channel. Peanuts have lots of associations. They come in lots of shapes. It's a food, and he loves all different food associations. So, to him, it's a serious fascination.
So what do his contemporaries say about him? Like how his mind works? I mean, with roof sex and Kaboom and use with all the other Peanuts. And I saw that TLC spot, which was just outstanding.
Yeah,
And I mean,
that's big on the internet.
Yeah, the Beastie Boy, was it?
Yeah, that's good, isn't it?
Oh, that's funny.
What do you think about that dog? That dog was $800 a day.
Are you kidding me?
Nah, he's a professional. Pepito's famous.
Wow.
Mhm. I think he did stupid pet tricks on Letterman.
And all he had to do. Never mind, I won't get into it.
Yeah.
Well, that's just really fascinating. So and I love how the corporate world has pretty much embraced his ideas.
Yeah, it's great, right?
And it's just amazing. I was watching TV the other day, and Coinstar came up. And,
Coinstar, yeah.
And I was like, hey, I know them. It was just, and what else have you guys been working on?
Oh, God. We just got back from 2 months in London. PES was shooting the new PSP commercials for the PlayStation Portable. And before that, in June, he did spots for Orange, which is a cell phone provider in the UK. It's definitely great that advertising has embraced his work. If there's any artists listening, advertising's the way to go.
Yeah. So, how does that change everything now? I mean, is he now looking to expand? Is he now? Because working the way he does, it looks like it takes a lot of time to do the stop motion. I'm not sure if he's continuing doing that down the road.
It does. It really depends on the type of production. So, for example, with a commercial,
right?
They'll give you $500,000 or $900,000, and you have a few weeks.
Word.
And so you get multiple camera setups and multiple animators, and you blow the whole thing out in 5 days.
Right.
But obviously, we don't work like that in our studio in Harlem. So it's more of the old school model, like Ray Harryhausen used to sit in his studio for 2 months and film these special effect sequences all by himself with maybe one assistant. And that's how PES works on his own films, partly because he enjoys it. He likes the process.
Now, is there, when we were talking off the phone yesterday, you were saying that you're looking to hire more production people?
Oh, God. No, I'm saying ideally. I think that's always the question for any small business that's growing, which is how quickly do you want to grow and what are the trade-offs? And I think the honest answer is we're not really sure at this point. We're making some new stuff right now.
Right.
And we occasionally have, 1 or 2 people help out on a project basis. And certainly for commercials, we staff up. Those are shot like live action commercials, with full crew and whatever. That's just how you have to do it. But the films, right now we're doing a DVD and we're starting a new short film. And it's just us.
So is it going to be more stop motion, or is he getting back into live?
Well, the commercial he just shot was live action with some special effects, which was a new experience and I think interesting. But he loves the stop motion right now. It's really more about the objects, I think, than the stop motion.
Right.
From my perspective, he might say something different. But I think he's really fascinated by the objects, and he's inspired by the objects. He's always collecting stuff. Excuse me, from all over the world. We have a pretty big place, and it's filled with just all sorts of interesting stuff. And he may have an object for a year or two before the inspiration comes to him for what it's going to be in the next film. So things kind of grow organically in that sense. I don't think it's so much about stop motion. I think PES would be the first to say that stop motion is a kind of archaic process.
Yeah. But he truly does give each object a new life.
It's nice to hear you say that.
Well, it's true. I mean, it gives it character and everything else. I mean, it's just really fun to watch. and I do really appreciate the time he puts into his work.
Oh, I'm glad. I mean, I think they're like many, they're works of art. They're moving works of art.
Absolutely.
I think it's the new art form for not just PES, but anybody who's doing a moving form of art.
Have you heard of an animator? He's clay animation. His name is Bruce Bickford.
I don't think I have actually.
He's not well known. He's not mainstream at all. He basically what he was. He went back and he went into his basement and just did all this clay animation and shot it frame by frame, pretty much with his own, I think, a high Super 8. And someone did a documentary about him, and it was just remarkable. And when I saw that documentary and I see, PES's work, it's very similar. You could tell the love that's involved with the actual work.
Yeah.
But it's just...
You have to love it because it's very time intensive. I mean, that's just animation in general.
So where does your voice come in this, as being the producer?
You mean my voice literally, like in Roof Sex, or?
Is that the only one you produced?
No. Oh, no, that's my voice.
Oh, that's your voice?
Yeah.
Bravo.
Thank you. It's my finest work. No, you mean what do I do as far as the films and stuff?
Yeah, do you give any ideas to them, or I guess you elaborate or collaborate on certain projects?
PES is the artist.
Right.
He's the creative visionary, and my role in this is really to get the films out there. I think the best way to describe what I do is to think of me as a, producing partner or a business manager.
Gotcha.
PES is really he's the visionary. Hopefully, I have nothing to do with the films.
That let me tell you, that means a lot to a filmmaker by having somebody else do all the work for them, basically putting promotions, getting in touch with agents, theaters, you name it, festivals. That helps so much.
I had a lot. It's hard. I know so many artists who are so talented at art, but that doesn't also mean they would be talented at promotion and sales and management.
Right.
And it's almost unfair that they are forced to deal with it themselves.
I was going to ask if you had anything else you think people would like to hear as far as what kind of equipment does he use? Is it all film, or is now he going towards video?
Oh no, well, it really depends on the project. But the last film we shot, he did with video, high quality. Well, actually, it was digital, not video. It was high quality digital stills.
Oh, okay, so it's still.
Yeah, they looked beautiful, high definition.
Oh boy.
Yeah, but commercials are still shot on 35 millimeter.
Wow.
I think partly because the equipment is a lot sturdier.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to a set and you see, it's like these big burly guys lifting 100-pound cameras and stuff, you can't really hand them a little tiny, USB cord. Doesn't work.
No, that would be a little bit awkward.
Yeah, it's just, but the quality's there for sure.
And then do you guys edit yourself, or does he have an editor?
Both. PES has a wonderful editor who he's worked with on, I think, almost all his films, and probably half his commercials. And then he also edits himself. With animation, with what he's doing, you have to edit before you shoot.
Right.
You're not really shooting a lot of extra.
By any chance, does he storyboard?
He does storyboard for some things. Roof Sex, he did a lot of storyboards.
You seem really in bed with Roof Sex. No pun intended, but...
Wait, what do you mean?
Just, well, it has your name all over it, and you keep mentioning it, but that is... Now, I guess, were you a part of that? Like, part of the process of putting that together?
Yeah, I was. I was still working my full-time job, and that's when I started working with PES. And it just, for me, that opened a door in my brain, and I thought, holy cow, I love my job, but I really love this. And I wanted to spend more time working with PES and other artists getting their work out there. And also Roof Sex, I think, we did a lot of the film festivals with that.
Okay.
And now the internet and our website, we get a lot of hits, and I'm a really big fan of different ways of getting the films out there and getting them seen. And I still love film festivals, and we've gotten a lot of great stuff out of film festivals. But as far as exposure, it's a totally different market, and it's much smaller.
Right.
And it's really time intensive. But I think we're going to do some festivals with the new film.
And how long's the new film going to be?
Epic, minute and a half. Yeah, that's what the New York Times said. Minute and a half. It's called Game Over, and it is a PES recreation of classic arcade games.
That's right. I got a sneak peek of that. And that was brilliant.
I love it. We hit the front page of YouTube a couple weeks ago.
Oh man.
Yeah, which I love. We have friends who say, "Oh my gosh, they stole your film." We're like, no, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great if someone cares enough to steal it and put it on the front page of YouTube.
Well, that's something that was interesting with YouTube, because when they first started, well, not first started, but when people started putting up that Saturday Night Live skit with the Chronicles of Narnia skit they did, and then NBC contacted YouTube, told them to take them down. I was just like, they just don't get it.
Right.
There are all these people out there that are showing other people that Saturday Night Live, which has been dead for a while, is starting to do new creative things.
Yeah. And
the web is starting to push that out. Mm-hmm. But it looks like NBC finally gets it, and now they post their own stuff for people to use.
And the ad revenue will follow, I'm sure.
Exactly.
But that's how it always is with any new technology. It's, the early adopters, they get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's interesting, and I'll keep this short, is are you familiar with the fair use doctrine?
Yes.
Now you can. This would be really good to hear in court. Someone complain about this. If someone gets sued for posting, something that Fox News, for example, put up there, and they put it up there, Fox News wants it off. They can by the fair use and say, we posted that video up there to start a commentary, online, and it was also to inform, the people. So don't you think that would fall under the fair use doctrine?
Oh God, from what I know about the fair use doctrine, it's the epitome of the fuzzy line.
Yeah.
It's hard to prove, it's hard to disprove.
It's all it's basically, whoever has bigger pockets.
Yeah.
But it should be interesting. I would love to see someone go up against that, because people are commenting on it, people are talking about it, and that's what it's really there for.
It's going to happen.
Yes. And watch it be me.
Did you get licenses for all of the footage you used?
Absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
No, actually, everybody who I interviewed, I did. The actual footage of the shootings became public domain when it went to court.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that HBO and other places that would want to show it, they need that proof to say that it's okay to use. Mm-hmm. But no one would sign off on it. Like, I went to all the news stations that actually had the footage, and they said it's in public domain. We don't even use it. We don't even want to, know about it. Mm-hmm. They're like, you can use it, but just don't say you got it from us. So it was really.
And if it's in the public domain, you can't show those papers to HBO.
I don't know. I haven't gotten that far with my documentary. I don't think it's going that far. That's why I put it on the web now for people.
Okay. I thought you were saying that HBO called and you were like, no, I can't do it, guys.
No, I would find a way.
Okay.
I'd break kneecaps to get a signature.
Good. That's what I like to hear.
Damn right.
Yeah.
Well, Sarah, thank you so much for talking to me about PES and your career, and it sounds like you guys are on the way to.
Andy, it was great. I'm so glad that you like the work and that you're interested, and hopefully this is interesting to some people.
I want to thank Sarah Phelps for joining me. This is my first podcast, first episode, and I look forward to interviewing many more people out there who are creative, who do things differently, who push the envelope, and who just love what they do. Thanks for listening to this episode of Talent Freaks. It really is a special one for me. Sarah's collaboration with PES has brought to life some of the most innovative and entertaining stop-motion animations in recent years. Their work continues to inspire and push the boundaries of what animation can achieve. To explore more of PES's work, visit eatpez.com and discover a world where everyday objects come to life in unexpected ways. Sarah and PES's creativity journey is a testament to the power of collaboration and the endless possibilities of artistic expression. If you'd like to get to know my work, visit talentfreaks.com to see some of the videos that I've worked on, as well as the photography that I'm currently doing and so much in love with. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and rate the podcast. It truly helps others discover these incredible stories. Until next time, keep exploring, keep creating, and stay curious.